Hawks of America, Target Lock Earth #2. Waiting on the J-Man. Seeing if this music works. So we'll just listen until he arrives. He's supposed to arrive now.
Don't say nothing. Keep your hands on the wheel. Don't turn around. This is for real.
All right, I'm going to fire off that email to him again because apparently he didn't get it. So we'll see. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, we'll see about that. He was supposed to come in when the music was happening. I guess we'll just have to keep on playing around with it a little bit until he arrives with the music going on. And we will jump right into it. It's going to be a short show today. Short show. It's going to be a short show today because we both have other things to do. Hey,
right.
Hey, we got things to do. Places
Yes.
to go, and people to be.
Exactly.
So I was just playing this song,
Oh,
trying to wait for you to arrive. Can you hear that?
I can hear it.
All right. That's a little intro music. Got to break it up a little bit so we don't get hit on a copyright violation or something, you know?
Good point.
So we'll wait for that riff to complete, and then we'll get into it.
Well, it was a little quicker than last week.
Yeah. Anyway, so here we are again. Target
Welcome back.
Lock Earth #2. How have you been?
Cold. It's been cold and snowy in these parts.
Oh, well, you got your hat on. That's good. Keeping warm with the hat.
It's my horny hat. See?
Of course. Yeah, it's nice. I like it.
Yeah, it helps. It's supposed to be
So-
-6 tonight.
Damn. What's the wind chill? Like -20? -25?
Yeah, there's not that much wind, but it doesn't matter. It's cold.
Yeah, it's that top of the mountain cold.
You got it.
So, what the hell happened with that Iowa caucus last night?
I don't know. I only heard afterwards, or actually, I saw some of it online, written,
Yeah,
but not the. I didn't watch any of it live. So
I
you
didn't
got me
watch.
my remote outpost.
Yeah, I didn't watch it live either, but just those numbers that came in, it was really surprising. I thought that Cruz and Trump were going to be neck and neck.
Yeah.
That was pretty obvious going into it. I think that Cruz had a better ground plan. He had a lot of people going door to door and all that. Although, Trump was really, hitting highs on the polls. But
Yeah.
I guess it just goes to show that you really can't trust the polls.
Well, you know what? One article I
Oh,
read that said was Trump was relying on the polls, whereas Cruz had a strategy. So,
Yeah.
and plus it was a caucus, not just a primary, so it's a completely different beast.
Yeah.
And remember, and Clinton won the coin toss 6 times.
6 times. 6 times.
You know, I figured there was a double-headed coin in there somewhere.
I'm sure there were a few. I would say there were probably a few.
Oops.
But I guess so. I guess. Well, I mean, to get back to the Republican side, but to go on the Democrat side for a minute, I guess Sanders is asking for a recount because I think that some people that were actually there,
Yeah.
they said they weren't counted or something, and they've got video and photos. I'm not sure what they're going to do, but yeah, it's just the caucuses are just like crazy, man. The way they have those rules are completely like made for like a town hall, beer house. I mean, a total town hall beer house. It just doesn't like really fit in with the modern, world. I mean, what's wrong with somebody just writing down, their entry on a piece of paper, dropping it in a box, like let's just do some voting here,
Well, apparently I was not the only caucus state, so I guess up until this election, some of us in our age group and under probably, especially since we're in states that don't have them, we don't have any idea what a caucus is, So I just heard about it on the NPR the other day. I was like, oh, it's different.
Yeah, but the feasibility of that in this day and age, I mean, the caucuses are different, but I mean the end result is the same. I believe it's the same. Out of whatever their whatever the stuff they play around with during the caucus, because the Republican thing that happened in Iowa was just a ballot. You write it in, drop it in the slot. They count them out. They count them out. Whoever gets whatever number percentage, they get those delegates. While the Democrats have everybody standing on one side of the room or another, and they have actual people like counting them, the people. I mean, imagine yourself standing up on a bleacher, counting all the people on one side of a fracking room, right? I mean, and that's one of the contentions that Sanders brought up was that did you do a full count of that last caucus race? And I think the reply from the Clinton side was like, no, I just added on the people that came over. So, I mean, what is this, like 7th grade math? I mean,
yeah, well, that's
220 plus 11 plus.
That's the way the Democrats roll, man.
Yeah, and then they were like, hey, we've got a problem. What should we do about that? We're calling the Democrat Center. Democrat support. What can I do for you today? Oh, we have a problem at the caucus race. We don't know how to resolve the issue. Let me look that up. Let me look that up.
Out of your pocket.
Please, yes. Reach into your right pocket or left pocket, wherever you keep your spare change, and flip a fucking coin.
Yeah. I think it should be like wrestling.
Democrat tech support. Here to help. Anyway, yeah, it's just fucking ridiculous. But it doesn't mean anything anyway. It's like it's a 2-person race on the Democrat side. Hillary got 22, Sanders got 21.
It was pretty close.
Delegates, which are the important part. And there's 2 different types of delegates too, which is really fucked up. And I'll talk about this in a minute. But anyway, on the Republican side, Cruz got 8, Trump got 7, and Rubio got 7. So essentially, it was a tie. Even though the percentages were a little bit different, but it was a tie between Trump and Rubio. And it really begs the question, where the fuck did Rubio come from? I mean, it's
he wasn't polling anywhere close to that.
I mean, by any polls that were going on, he was down by 14, 15 points. Yeah. I mean, I don't know the exact numbers or what actually happened on the floors, but that just doesn't really stand to very much reason. But then they called it back to there were a lot of first-time caucus goers, and I'm not sure what that means on the Republican side because they're just fucking writing down, they're just writing down the name of the guy they want to be there and dropping it in a box.
Well, the establishment over there on the GOP wants to make sure their boy's in the race. So you got to at least have the numbers, so there's no justification.
The Robo Rubio or whatever.
Robo Rubio, that's good.
Robo Rubio, whatever somebody called him the other day.
Yeah.
But there's actually two types of delegates, and it depends on what kind of state you're in. And the first type is the one that is locked in to vote for who they were sent to vote for.
Oh.
So it's like if you are a delegate for X candidate, that's who you have to vote for at the convention or whatever the top tier vote is. And then you have the other type, which is like, I don't even know why they have this there, but they can vote for whoever the hell they want for if they get to a certain point. And it's like, what is that? How can you even do that? I guess it makes sense if you're thinking about, like people drop out of the race and they have to vote for somebody else or something, because they're the person who they're, the candidate who they're a delegate for, doesn't make it to the final vote, that they can change their mind and vote for whoever. But I mean, it only stands to reason that if you're going to organize something like that, I mean, you should say, okay, well, here's, what it is, and then they should get thrown back into the pot for like another vote, and they have to be locked into whoever the hell wins that. It's like they can't just, like, oh yeah, I'm going to be a delegate for, like Huckabee, and we know he's going to like drop out, and then I'm going to go Ruby. And it's like, where the hell do you get all those, votes at the backside of it? Anyway, very, very contentious, the rules for all of that. They may need to be updated. I don't know. They may not stand up well, as so far as tradition goes. I like tradition, but but the political thing is just a set of rules that they put into place because they thought it was good at the time.
Right. Well, I mean, so it's obviously not a straightforward democracy. So they leave that to after they've done all the picking, and then then you have the pseudo democratic process during the general elections, or the primaries rather. So
to tell you the truth,
anyway,
I think that the whole confusion aspect of it pisses a lot of people off, and why people don't pay attention to it.
Yeah.
And this is almost like the most important part of the process. We're trying to get the goddamn candidates in line, the people that we think should be in power, in the White House ultimately, and it's like not a straightforward thing. What was that flash of weirdness there? Are you looking at pictures? Something?
Not that I'm aware of.
I saw a flash of, I don't know.
Over there?
I'll have to go back and figure it out. I thought there was like a flash of something on the screen. I might be
poltergeist getting into my place.
I'll have to go back and see what that was all about. But it's not a straightforward process. And, we really need to, I mean, it's one of those things. You can't address it overnight. You can't just, convince people to, like, do something about that. But, I mean, we're in a different world this 2016, this 21st century of ours. And I don't know, we may need to go back and, revisit, some of those things. Because, I mean, even, it made sense way back then to do this voting like that. I mean, because, like, you've got these, states, and you've got to, you can't have a direct vote because you're going to have millions of ballots that somebody needs to count. So it just makes more sense to do it, like, more locally. And then you just combine all of that. You bring it up to a higher level. They take another vote. You combine those, then you have these other groups, and that just makes more sense when you're dealing with, like a non-technological like society that we have today. Now it's like, really, you're a voter? Get online and just click that button.
Right.
You just have to have, trust in the software program and databases that are running that shit, which is a whole nother issue.
Yeah, trust in the software program and the operating systems, who manufactured it, who owns it, who's running it, and who they favor in the race.
Yeah. So anyway, but it was a very interesting outcome, because ultimately, Trump and Rubio tied.
Oh, is
They're
that right?
basically neck and neck right now. Yeah. Because that's what the delegates are. You have to like keep your eye on the delegates. So like
Right.
Cruz is like one ahead with 8, and then Trump and Rubio are behind with 7 each. So basically,
Well,
it's like Cruz won and Rubio and Trump tied. And I
yeah, I
know that
guess.
Trump is probably beside himself about that.
Yeah, I guess
But
there's a lot of
yeah,
closet Rubio supporters. Then maybe they were swayed at the last moment, or maybe they trucked him in. I mean, we just don't know. But I mean, obviously, I think a system like that is. I mean, every system is ripe for some means of corruption and subterfuge. So
oh
this is
yeah,
just another one of them.
well, absolutely, and we all know that the democratic system of any country probably is, well, any system like you just said, but democracies, yeah, they can be corrupted. You can buy off votes. You can lose ballots. You can be as low tech or high tech about it as you want.
Don't
Um,
forget the hanging chads.
yeah, the hanging chads. Yeah, that was a fun one. We couldn't count them because they weren't punched all the way through. I mean,
Well,
that was
it's right here. It's
a
right here in the rule
faulty,
book, though.
faulty voting machines. Whatever. But yeah. So hopefully, and the whole, what was that? The George W. Bush recount. What the hell
Yeah,
was that about? The
well,
recount.
that was part of the hanging chad thing down in
Yeah, the
Florida,
hanging
where his
chad thing.
brother was the governor at the time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, Florida. So anyway, it'll be interesting to see what goes on in New Hampshire. I think it's on the 9th. But I also believe there's a GOP debate on the 6th. Isn't
is there?
there? I mean,
I thought
yeah,
there was a
I think
Democratic one
so.
coming on.
I think so. But I mean, just to go on about this for a little bit longer, I think that it's like these candidates are like way behind. It's like, I don't know if, I mean, it's like, what's the reasoning of them even staying in the race? I mean, like the Republican field this time around it was like 15 candidates. I mean, like
Yeah.
Fiorina think that she's gonna win, and the guy from New Jersey that I like, um, whatever his name is,
Christie.
yeah, Chris Christie. Obviously, I don't like him enough to remember his name off the tip of my tongue, but he seems all right, like an all right guy. I mean, he's been dealing with a lot of stuff in New Jersey, and it seems like he's done a decent job. And then you got Case. He's all right. I mean, governor, okay, but they're nowhere even close to like anything. Those guys would be good somewhere in the hierarchy, but I don't understand why they just don't consolidate. At this point, I mean, they are like, how could they even have a hope of like, they think that they're going to like spring ahead, and be like, suddenly America realized that I'm great. So it's almost like they're just like thrown in there as like little chaos pieces,
Well,
just,
yeah, I think that's probably mostly what it is.
just to like keep things like unstable, because obviously they're all scared of Trump right now. It's like, how are they going to support him if he wins, the nomination with all the delegates, So it's like they got to play all these like points off, and I don't know, maybe those guys, think he's a complete asshole, probably, buck the system. I think that Huckabee actually will probably side with Trump. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe he will
Well,
go
it was
out.
Huckabee and Santorum who were at his event the other night.
Yeah,
So.
and maybe they'll go out there and play the game for him. I don't know. And I don't know too much about those guys, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Well, there seems to be a big rift, though, in the Christian or evangelical wing of the party, though, regarding Trump. Because there's a lot of people. There was some NPR program I was listening to the other day, and it was specifically with a guy who is a Christian radio program guy who's been doing a program for decades. And then when the Trump phenomena came along, he was diehard Cruz. And when the Trump phenomena came along, he started running into little issues with a lot of his avid listeners because, Trump wasn't Christian enough. So I think that there's actually a lot of that going on, which is, you heard the other day, Cruz called for, the evangelicals needing to raise the body of Christ in this election. So he's invoking something there. And those are also a lot of people, who didn't vote, in 2012. There's a lot of people that weren't interested or felt disenfranchised on the religious right who did not vote in 2012. And I'll tell you, some of them probably didn't vote aside from not wanting Obama. A lot of Christians, I can tell you, they don't like Mormons, and Romney was a Mormon, and they see Mormons, regardless of how successful they are, as members of a cult. So, and I know that from having been, I've had relatives, that are, I lost my earbud, that are Christian, and that was, of one denomination or another, and that was their opinion of Mormons, so I think that probably played in there a lot too, but anyway, I think you have a big resurgence of the Christian right in this election,
Yeah, I remember when that whole Mormon thing was brought up, and I was like, oh, he's sunk at this point. And, and when it came up to the end of it, I sat out the 2012 election. I was just like, I've been voting since I've been old enough to vote, and that one I was just like, you know what? There is no lesser evil.
That's true.
I've got nothing for you. It's like there is no lesser evil. I can't vote.
You had to pull a George Carlin.
I went. I voted. Because there's a lot of other positions open at that main election. I actually went to vote, but I didn't vote for a president. I didn't even write anybody in. I left it blank. Who knows? Maybe that didn't play in anybody's favor. Maybe somebody wrote something in. I don't know. But I voted for like state and local people that were up. But man, I'm telling you, it's crazy how they have it all arranged. And I guess we will see. Hopefully, I think that the thing about Trump is that he has had, and they haven't started to hit him too hard on this yet, but he has had a lot of different political opinions over the years. And I think that that's why, the Republican, conservative people are like, so concerned about him that he's not going to be, a team player when it comes down to it, which they should be, But so it almost takes like for those people to come over on his side, it almost takes like a leap of faith on their part to be like, oh, but he's really talking about what he wants to do for the country now, and they are very conservative things, despite of what he might have said before. This is what he feels now, and what man hasn't changed their mind over the years on certain topics and things?
Or women.
You think something's great when you're, 20, and you think it's not that great when you're 25. Or when you become 30 or 40, your opinions change. It's like a developing person. If they want to lock somebody in to like what they were before, and that's who they are forever, that's pretty narrow-minded. But, yeah. So I think that's what their problem is right now. That big, block. It's like he hasn't been this thing. He seems like the thing that we want right now, maybe, but he hasn't been that forever. No. So how stable of a candidate is he? It's like, if something happens, how's he going to react? Because he hasn't had this stable, presence forever.
Well, the people that are on the right that are a critic of him, they first of all, he used to be a Democrat, that he's friends with the Clintons, and then the people on the right are also concerned with the fact that, as critics, that he doesn't really have a plan, doesn't have a policy, doesn't have specifics. He's got a good game, and he talks a good talk, but there's nothing for him to go on. And then there's the phone conversation with Bill Clinton, but you'd like to know the details of that conversation. right before he threw his hat in the race. So yeah, we don't know if his bill was giving him, well, here's how you screw everybody on the right and get them to follow you.
I didn't hear about that one. What's that?
Yeah. He's good friends with those guys. He had a phone call, a conversation on the phone with Bill Clinton before he threw his hat in the race for the GOP. So
okay,
and of course no one knows what they talked about. So
you got a source on that? Where'd you read that one?
I guess you can probably search it. It's been alluded to in a number of radio and press pieces. Right. I'm sure in a number of different resources, but
because we have to link whatever we talk about here. It has to be sourceable information. So
right.
See if it's valid source or just rumor, gossip, whatever the case might be. Because, like I said before, while it seems like we're blowing smoke out our ass all the time, we're not. We got sourced information. Hopefully, we have sourced information.
Right. Well, here is the source.
If we go into fictional space, we will let the viewers of Zero know. We are in imagination space now. Okay?
Yes, that's one of my favorite numbers. Well, he was also Trump was also he's making the rounds on the right wing talk shows and the like on interviews. So he was on InfoWars with Alex Jones recently with Michael Savage. So I mean, I don't know if he's just making a show with all the right people or if these are crowds that he's in tune with, but nonetheless. He's been making the rounds on. I don't know if he's done Rush Limbaugh. Rush Limbaugh's kind of light compared to those two guys, if you know what I mean. Even though he's a little hefty. But
Rush Limbaugh seems like he's supporting Rubio now. He made some statements.
Well, he thought his speech was exciting. I did that.
It's exciting, and it's an exciting speech. You gotta back up those exciting speeches.
Well, he may have been told who he needs to start supporting. So
Rush Limbaugh. I don't know. I still think of Rush Limbaugh from back in the 90s or whenever he became prominent. Yeah. I don't quite like that attitude or whatever it was. And then he had all his problems, and I don't know. He just seems like he's just like a hack out there now. I don't know. He's got a voice, that's for sure.
Yeah, and a following, and he's a talking head.
Following. Radio program, yeah, he certainly does. But we'll see how all that plays out because it's going to get pretty nasty pretty quick, I think. And it's going to be a roller coaster, I believe. The thing about it is that it's like none of the front runner Republican candidates, they don't have any dirt on them. We haven't heard any dirt
on Trump.
On Trump, Cruz or Rubio. It's like there's just no dirt. It's like, okay, but of all of those, candidates, it's like, well, Trump should have the most dirt on him, of all of them, because he's been playing business all his life. He has, however many ex-wives he's got. It's like there's no fucking dirt.
Yeah.
On the Clinton side, on the Democrat side. Hillary, that's going to come out in the wash, at some point. Sanders, I mean, give me a break. I know he's got a lot of support at, the youth level, the 18
free everything,
30s,
free school,
free everything. And how are you going to pay for all that free
stocks?
You're going to pay for that free tuition by what? Taxing Wall Street speculation. It's like, okay, sure thing, dude. Go for it. But essentially, it's a socialist, communist-leaning platform, and I don't think that's going to happen here.
I think it's unlikely. Well, let's put it like this: I think it's unlikely that if he becomes the Democratic, candidate, which is unlikely, even though he's got good numbers. I think he would easily lose to either Cruz or Trump. I think Trump is the big scare for any of them because I think Trump would probably beat Hillary.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that yeah, the strangest thing about that side, the Democratic side, is like, what happens if they actually bring charges against Hillary Clinton? You
They're
know,
not.
her campaign is pretty much sunk. You know, and then Sanders is there, and what happens is that is everybody who's like with Hillary gonna like move over to Sanders? You know what I mean?
No.
It's like, what is gonna? No, it's not gonna happen. But I mean, that's the only winning possibility that they have if that happened.
Right.
You know,
Well, I think
or
I think charges will probably be brought
or if
against her,
you
but it's about
are,
who's going to prosecute it. There was an article I was just reading a little while ago on Breitbart about the previous investigative general saying that, like, well, there's like 4 Democrats, all women, in high places in the Obama administration, including Lynch, and don't forget the Night Stalker in the White House. Uh,
yeah. Well,
that they're not gonna do anything about it. They're the ones that have to act on it, and
well,
they're not going to.
Lynch is the problem, and she's the one who's ultimately taking direction from Obama, from the
Right.
president, right?
Oh, totally.
And so they're gonna do everything that they can not to prosecute it. The only thing that is gonna cause a prosecution to occur is that if something so outrageous appears in that investigation that they just cannot, silence it. And if some news organization finds out about it, right? Somebody
Yeah, well,
leaks something to somebody else,
which news
right?
organization?
And
CNN,
then
MSNBC, none of those. They're not going to do anything about it.
they blow it up. But that's the only way that it could happen,
Yeah.
essentially. At this point, is if some news organization gets their hands on some info and then blows it up.
Right.
That's really the only way it's going to happen. And then they're back into a corner, and they've got to do something about it. They either have to have more hearings, or they have to have, a deeper investigation, whatever it is. The thing about it is the way that whole, the big issue is like her email server, her emails with classified info. But their backup point at this time is that none of those emails were marked as classified at the time they were sent to her. They're classified now, but they weren't classified
Right.
at the time that she got her hands on them, or the time that it was like, in the mix out there. So
Right.
it's like
So they say.
it's totally gray. Yeah, so they say, but it's a totally
Right.
gray area, right? So
Well, still, there's the
yeah,
other issue of them going onto her private server. I mean, that's what the whole issue is. And then whatever links that she and the Clinton Foundation have with other, political states around the world, much less ones who are totally capable of hacking a system. I would presume would be more easy to hack hers than some at the state or at the Pentagon or the NSA. So you could almost look at it as like, well, maybe they were also putting there for convenience, not only for herself and her staff, but for other supporters from other states, state nations around the globe. So, I mean, who knows?
you just never know about all that. Yeah, obviously her protocol was not how it should have been. You don't know. I think it came up like really early in that investigation that, the rules were not explicit. That her work email should remain on government servers. The rules, they pretty much came to the conclusion that the rules were not written, in black and white terms. It left a lot to be, open.
Right.
So possibly she misunderstood, what the
Well,
what it
oops.
meant. What, she didn't have like a job in servicing, like,
Right.
here are the rules. Here's your handbook. This is what Secretary of State is all about. Here's your handbook.
Yeah. Well,
Come on.
the other thing that this article on Breitbart implied that they were getting out of the press in this context was that, or their State Department contacts or Clinton contacts, was that they thought what will happen is that basically if something becomes something to a charge that they can actually prosecute and follow through, that'll be against a lower level assistant of hers. Oh, well, it was my assistant's fault. You know, they didn't know. They moved it around. Therefore, boom, problem solved. The presidential campaign goes on. You know?
Yeah.
So
sure, yeah.
I mean, she's untouchable. You know?
The fall guy thing. Sure. All right.
So where are we over this culture war that you're posting on here, and also talking about the Return of Kings article with this neo-masculinity happy hour days out? I had never even heard about this until you mentioned it today.
Yeah,
Please
pretty
enlighten me.
That's fun stuff. So so we all know about the culture war being waged in the schools these days, right? So about, it has to do with kind of like what they're doing in the colleges these days as like the rape culture thing, and the no means no, which has become the yes means yes sort of thing. And that whole conflagration of rules that they're enculturating students with these days that really bring into play the cultural norms that are being assaulted, such as all of the I don't even know how you want to say it, but the entire acceptance of all of these special classes in society, and now enshrined by law, which we didn't have 10 years ago, which the left has been fighting for. I mean, sure, you have gay rights, you have feminism, you have, LGBTQ, whatever.
What is the Q part? I missed that addendum.
I think Q is queer.
Oh, well, that's what it was in the 70s. We're here, we're queer, we're used to it, so they're going back to it. So, okay.
What is queer? I mean, isn't queer just gay? I mean, you're fucking queer. I mean.
Well, apparently.
Come on, anyway, but it's all of these protected classes, the discrimination, which has caused this reaction in this in this movement of men. And of course, you have men's rights activists, which are the ones that are against all the harsh divorce, child support laws that have been screwed over. It's the guy working at the gas station for $14.75 an hour, and they take 50% of his fucking pay, to pay for his kids, or to give alimony to his wife. Anyway, you have the men's rights activists. There's actually 3 different phalanxes of this, and I will say phalanx. 3 different phalanxes. So you have the men's rights activists, which are kind of like those that have been done wrong by the system since the Title IV Violence Against Women Act came into play in the 90s, which came out like right after the O.J. Simpson trial. That was the big push about that, because the police visited him several times and they didn't do anything about it. Then his wife ends up dead, right? They pushed that whole thing through right after that, the VAWA, Title IV. So that's like men's rights activists, men who've been done wrong by the system, the house, the car, kids, everything, and lose a job, and don't have money to pay for good attorneys. Women get the free attorneys, blah blah blah. Those are the guys that are just like pissed off at the system. Then you have the neo-masculinists, the neo-masculinist movement, which is the one that we're going to talk about. And then you have the MGTOW people, which are the men going their own way movement, which are just like, fuck women, we don't need them in our society anymore. We're just
so are they gay?
They're not gay. Apparently they're not. Apparently not. Well, because if they were gay, they wouldn't be complaining about it. right?
I just need to check.
Apparently, they're not.
They might have switched sides.
If they were gay, they wouldn't be complaining about it because they'd be getting their nut off of their dude bros or whoever the hell, right? So, but they're just the ones that are like, we're done. It's like we're done with the women in this society. We don't have anything to do with them, and we're just gonna like, go do our own, thing, right? Men going their own way, okay? So, and then you have the neo-masculinists, which is what we're going to talk about here in a moment. But they're the ones that are like, you know what? Society fucking sucks. Women are being turned into frickin' pigs and ugly, feminist, slut-walking whores, But we still love women. And we have to learn how to navigate this new society within which we live in order to, possibly find a good woman to marry at some point in time. But if we can't, then we just have to, be out there loving all the women that we can.
Right, and that's probably the problem.
And that interfuses with the whole PUA or pickup artist scene.
Oh, right.
Because when it comes to that point, how to navigate society with these women that have been, enculturated with feminism, and they are on, the pedestal, and they don't respect men for, who they are. They don't want to look feminine. They don't want to be feminine. They want to take the place of man. They want to do everything a man can do. Even though, biology and mentality and, everything dictates that, man and women are like different. They come together for good things, but they're like different, parts of the same species,
Right.
And so their whole thing is like, well, we're going to game it. We're going to game the system. How are we going to go forward? How are we going to, it's like, we're men. What do men do all the time? Oh, we play games. Man is a game playing motherfucker, So what are we gonna do? We're gonna like analyze the hell out of like this society and like what's happening to women, what's happening to men, and we're just gonna like play it to our advantage. And that's like where this whole thing comes out like right now. So this whole culture of neo-masculinity, which is really a call back to arms. It's like, man, you just need to like, buck up and like, be a man, essentially. You need to go out, be strong, play sports, do the things, that, make you happy in the world. Make money, learn to hunt, play games, play sports, lift weights, go out there and just like do it, but don't have any of that dependent on women. Right?
No. Well, I can see that.
When you go to women, it's for, your social relationship with them, which basically comes down to, having a good emotional time and having sex. Okay? And that's how I see it. And so anyway, this has been like, the pickup artist scene has been out there forever, but this is like an advancement of that. And this whole thing with Roosh V, Return of Kings, that whole thing has been going for about 5 or 6 years, and the guy Roosh V has some books out there about, how he taught himself, to like game women to get laid when he was like in his 20s. He's got like 15 or 20 books out there. The guy's made a living off of it. He's made a living off of it. He's lived in like, many different countries out there. Okay, and so he talks from a position of, experience, right? So the guy is like mid-30s now, and this neo-masculine movement has been developing, and there's a lot of like really smart men in that movement. We're talking like these are the guys that were like the philosophy majors in college. That are like, like if they were in any other, if they didn't have this influence, they'd still be the, nerd sitting there with the glasses, just like dreaming up shit in their fucking head. But they've done self-improvement to make themselves better with, women and just socially speaking. And there's quite a bit of following out there. So at this point in time, an announcement came out on the Return of Kings website, which is a pretty interesting blog if you want to get down to it. An announcement comes out on the 19th of January saying, hey, it's time to step out of the shadows. You know, we're going to have international meetups, and we're going to make arrangements so that men that are involved in this can, like, sit down with each other in a space and talk with each other face to face, get off the computer screens, right? And we're going to make friendships. Hell, we've been friends on the boards for years now, right? So why can't we sit down and have a beer together, you know, and talk about these things face to face and whatever. So that announcement comes out, and, you know, this, like, you know, it's all over the globe. And so, you know, I guess they've arranged, you know, meetings at different places across the globe. And, of course, it's all been announced publicly. And when I saw that happen, I'm like, you're inviting trouble or something else is going on. I'm cool. I'm cool.
And maybe they're inciting it.
And they have, you know, their little passcode, because, like, their whole thing is, like, you know, when a woman is trying to, like, rationalize something, it's not like real logical rationalization. It's just like a hamster running on a wheel. That's how they think about it. And it's actually kind of true in a way. Trying to find the way that you can jump off the wheel, or they can jump off the wheel. Anyway, so that was announced, and nothing really happened with it until the 31st of January. And then all of this, you know, left-wing, feminist, social justice warrior stuff started bubbling up, like, oh my God, they're having meetings, they're getting together, and
they're organizing.
Yeah, they're organizing. It's men, you know, going out to meet each other and, you know, have beers and talk about, you know, feminism, you know, all the ills in society that feminism brings to them. And of course, you know, like the guy Roosh V, he's got some pretty radical writings out there. I mean, some of the stuff is just, it's pretty hardcore, yeah. But nothing that I would consider, like, the dude's a no-go. He's, like, you know, insane. But he wrote an article about how to protect women from rape, but he did it in because, you know, the rape culture on the campuses and everywhere throughout the world, I mean, that's like the big feminist, like, 1 in 5 women will be raped in their lifetime, you know? Pitchforks and torches toward men. You know, so of course, rape
unless they're
rape
migrants.
Yeah, and migrants, except if it's migrants raping, then it's something else completely. You got to respect their culture.
It's culture, yeah.
But so anyway, so he wrote an article about how to protect women from being raped, and it was, when I first read this article, it must have been, well, it was quite a while back, but when I first read it, I was like, you know, you're absolutely right. I mean, this is put in ridiculous ways, but, you know, you're pretty much absolutely right. And the whole premise of the article was like, well, the way to protect women from being raped is to make rape legal on private property. And, you know, and the whole point of that was, you know, it's like, well, if rape is legal on private property, then, you know, women are going to be careful going home with strangers. They're going to be real careful, you know, what they do in their lives. You know, they're not going to get too drunk. They're not going to, you know, think that they can, you know, slut with abandon, you know, sleep around with abandon, you know, and not have any repercussions out of it. So the whole article was, like, written, and, you know, he stated this over and over again, that article was satirical, even though he did not make a note at, like, a footnote in the article, like, by the way, this is satirical to prove a point. You know, he didn't do that. But the media picks up on this article, and now he's being classed as, like, pro-rape.
An enabler.
enabler, right? A rape enabler. And so all of these meetings over the planet coming up on February 6th have been like, spotted by all the SJWs and feminists, and this is a group of pro-rape men getting together, and they're going to discuss rape. They're going to discuss their plans for going out and rape, and it's like completely like ridiculous. But it's like the whole lid has been like blown like sky high. I mean, there's like government officials in like Australia, New Zealand, Canada, all of these places, and even like in Chicago and I believe Philadelphia now, there's protests being organized against. There's petitions online being signed and sent to people. It's like, and it's like most of the guys that are like involved in this are not. They're like suit and tie guys. They're like business people. And like whatever. Or they're like, college kids, it's like they got careers and stuff like that. And so it's become like this big conflagration of like, like the whole feminist SJW thing against, like the neo-masculine and like a big staring contest. But it's like ridiculous, like what's going on out there right now, because one of the things that this Roosh V guy is doing is he's like trolling. Like all of them, trying to like just build it up to the point of like absurdity. And it's like all those people that are like talking against him, they don't understand they're like, being played all these absurd cards. It's like he said that he's going to like appear at like one of these places, one of these 43 or 163 places across the planet. He's going to appear at one of them, and everyone in any of those places are, saying, we don't want him here. So it's like, they don't know where he's going to go. And he's like, I'm going to make my way into Australia. And if I have to take a private boat and land on the North Shore, that's how I'm going to get in. I'm going to sneak into the meeting. And he's got like politicians in like Australia and all kinds of feminists and protests like organizing against it, like, no, we'll deny your visa and blah blah blah. Anyways, it's like absurdity. Right before we got online, fracking, there are like Twitter girls or YouTube girls out there now that are actually like so upset about this threat of these meetings.
He's a terrorist.
They're posting crying videos on YouTube. Dude, I'm serious. I am totally serious. I'm like, what the hell is this? Seriously. Check this out. I'm gonna play a little spot here just because it's like, I'm not laughing that the girl is crying, but I mean it's like they're cropping up like everywhere. It's like, look at this.
I'm sorry. I am so frustrated right now. This whole Roosh V thing is just like driving me insane. People have reacted very well. I mean, in the sense that leaders of cities and are not letting him come hold his meetings there, whatever.
It's too much. It's too much. It's too much. Men.
What say you? Say something.
Men might go out with each other to have a beer and talk about women.
Yeah, that's the problem. Well, they're talking about us. They're talking about us without us being there.
Oh my God! And that's another
against
point.
Us.
That's another good point of it too. Is that like, yeah, it's like, well, what we can't have. It's like girls' night out. Hey, you mind if I tag along? Girls' night out?
No, it's the girls' night out.
Nope. Anyway, yeah, but it's ridiculous because, like, all these crying videos are showing up. It's like, oh my God, even like the very, thought of these meetings happening even close to somebody's town. is like setting this off, and but it's all based essentially on that whole make rape legal accusation, based on that satirical article that was written. And I don't know what the master plan might be, if that was intentionally done way back when. Somehow I think that somebody's got to be a really good chess or Wii Chi player to do something like that. Or if it's just like complete, like just digging in the dirt, to find something to throw at them, see if you can make it, stick, and then just to bubble up all the hysteria about it.
Right. Well, there's so many emotions. I mean, it's a trigger. He's like triggering these responses out of these women, these young women mostly, it looks like, to have these types of responses.
Yeah. And the thing of it is, well, we all know that young women are not emotional. They're completely rational, and you can't
and they are in control of their emotions, totally self-controlled.
You can't spin them up too easily, can you?
No, not
at all.
They know exactly who they are.
They know exactly who they are and what they're doing all the time. And I have footage from the Beatles and from the Rolling Stones and from Led Zeppelin, I think, to prove that they are completely the most rational part of the species on the planet. But the thing of it is that this stuff is bubbling up now in the mainstream news, and there are police agencies that are like, oh yeah, we're on it. We're going to monitor the events, and we're going to do all this. And this is like global. We're not just talking about in Santa Cruz. We're talking about this is over in Sydney, Perth, Glasgow, London, Toronto, Ontario, Ottawa, Philadelphia, Chicago, where it's like everybody. Up in
what they're afraid. This is what they're afraid of. They're going to turn into groups of roving men from the West, mostly white, that are going to turn into roving groups of men that are just going to grab and grope and assault women at the train station because, they've seen that other, guys from other cultures have been very successful with that, and they're afraid they're going to start doing that again.
Well,
we're going to go back to our old ways.
Yeah. Well, if you look, it's really kind of funny. It's like all this hysteria that's out there right now about this, because if you look at the writings and what's really going on, it's like that sort of behavior is completely the furthest thing from what they're actually advocating.
Right.
I mean, they're advocating actually just talking to a girl, talk to a woman.
No,
I'm
scared.
Get over your fear of talking to women, and you can only do that by doing it over and over and over again. And sometimes you're gonna find one that wants to go home with you, and sometimes you're not. It doesn't mean that you're gonna grab the one that doesn't want to by the hair and put her over your shoulder and drag her home, or take her to an alley. That's not what it's about at all. It's it's completely ridiculous, the hysteria. I can see the point for it though, because it is at that level out there now, to where there is this level of nervousness going on because of the laws and the way society is, the feminism, the social justice networks, all of these things, and how they just feed off each other to create an atmosphere like this. Pretty damn uncomfortable on both sides, I think. Yeah. Anyway, it's almost like it's popcorn time. Well, let's see how they handle it.
Yeah, let the show begin. Yeah, no, it kind of sounds like that because
but
obviously not
in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways, I'm I'm sympathetic toward them. I can't imagine, how college men, college guys are getting through it right now. You
They're
know,
playing video games and putting their earbuds in.
it's like withdrawal. It's like
Yeah, well,
what the hell? What the hell? You know, were we doing when we were in college? It's have a beer. Let's have a party. You know, I mean,
right.
and those things are still going on. But now there's like this threat. There's this threat that like if something goes down between you and some chick, and she doesn't like it the next day,
Yeah.
you know, it's like she can turn around and have buyer's remorse or whatever, and say that
Buyer's remorse.
you forced her into it, because she was drunk. And you know what? That's an automatic ticket, like out of school these days.
Yeah.
Seriously, they can try and convict within the school. And
Now, does it have to be on campus?
No, I don't
It can be
believe
anywhere.
it does. It just has to be student on student, basically. Yeah, and they handle it completely separate from the law enforcement agencies. Like they don't even give the guy the element of respect that, like, okay, well, you'll be suspended from school while this runs through, while this runs through the court, and then, whatever, the decision is on that, we'll let you back in or we'll kick you out. It's just like there's this, like, review board at school that takes place, and of course, there's all this, shaming and guilt thing where you can't, accuse the victim of anything, you can't do anything. So essentially, once an accusation is made, that's it.
There's no defense.
The victim,
No defense.
The victim is untouchable. Untouchable, cannot be questioned. You have to believe her.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like the campus.
And-
The campus is a mini state, and they're going to prosecute the ideas that they're promulgating. So, and that's kind of the scary thing about not only that, but the whole almost anti-free speech reality that's happening on some of these campuses these days. That it's a mini state. Even though a lot of them are funded by the states that they're in, they're their own little sovereign nation.
Yeah.
And they're promulgating their little ideologies that they're that their professors and then the administrators are creating all these bylines.
And that's the larger point, because what we're seeing with this event right now, this global meetup, this international men's happy hour, I mean, that's exactly what we're seeing is like the development of all of that enculturation from the schools, where, basically, if you don't like something, you can just like try to stamp it down and get rid of it, without any recourse whatsoever, and that's the state. I mean, it's like everything comes from like academia, I mean, it like taints your whole life, from the time that you're in to like, forever. I mean, it's like you and I, we might even be still reacting against stuff, from high school or, from college or whatever. I mean, it's ingrained, I mean, you learn things, right? But it's like when we went through, it was a little bit more open-minded. There was some stuff going on in the feminist quarters and, the other quarters, but you were easily able to, like, navigate away from them, and just be like, I'm not good with that. I had a couple of classes, they turned out to be a complete, like, hard-nosed, hard-headed, feminist trying to tell me something I don't even remember what it was, and I just like dropped those classes, like fuck you. I don't want anything to do with you, and now it's like, what, you have to have like mandatory consent classes in your freshman year.
What is that? What is that?
Teach men not how to rape.
Well, see,
essentially that's what it is.
That's what I was alluding to earlier. I mean, it's just that like between all the LGBT stuff and this new wave of feminism and this total fear of this whatever it is, rape culture, they are alienating and making totally unnatural and profane to some degree, the natural interactions between the opposites of the species, and so it's just one more sliver, one more division, that's being created, and the people that are the recipient of these new of belief systems, these new social justice systems, they are completely oblivious to what's being done to them. So in another way, their mind's kind of being raped, They're, so you can't have a natural experience because we're going to taint it in your psyche before it ever occurs. So by the time his hand is in your panties, and before you get to know, you think, oh, this is rape, as opposed to like, no, thank you, I'm done. Oh, no. Oh, you looked at me. Oh, that's rape. Oh, wait, you're talking. That's rape. Oh, wait, you sent me a text. That must be rape. There's no, so it's making all of it, unnatural and alien, to a natural experience,
Yeah, I'm
not saying that rape doesn't happen. Obviously it does, but I think, here in America and in the West, and on campuses.
Rape is a horrible fucking crime, dude. I mean, like, actual fucking rape. Like, somebody plucked out of, like, a park, on their morning jog, thrown into the bushes, and violently sexually assaulted.
Right.
That's fucking terrible. But if we're talking about the dance of mating, during drunken parties or whatever the hell it might be, just on the street saying, hey, I like how you look. What's going on? What's your name? Let me get your number. Whatever the case might be, after we have coffee. And it's like totally like different levels, I've been involved in a couple of companies over the years where, like, they made a point about, like, looking at women in a certain way, like, and it comes down to a point of, like, this thing that quote-unquote stare rape, it's like stare rape.
Stare rape?
Stare rape. Well, have you ever seen how, like, business women, like, dress? Good-looking business women dress with the low-cut shirts, and they got their cleavage hanging out. And it's like, I'm a fucking man. Where do you think I'm gonna
looking at me?
You're wearing a tight-ass fucking skirt. Where do you think I'm gonna look for brief moments of time?
You were just in my line of sight.
I'm a fucking man, If you don't want to be looked at that way, wear a fucking turtleneck and fucking straight. Wear a turtleneck and fucking and a straight skirt down to your fucking, ankles. Okay? I mean, it's like a complete disregard for, biological imperatives. I respect women in the business environment. I work with a lot of women across the board, and we do good work together. There's nothing, like, there's nothing rapey about any of, our interactions one way or another, But it's like, just these rules, if they are even articulated, like, make you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, why should I, like, work in an environment of fear, where it's like, I can't be myself, I can't, let my eyes move over the room as, they move over the room. It's like, if somebody's going to work and they're dressed like they should be out at a nightclub, which happens quite frequently.
Yeah.
Especially when women get to be 35 to 45,
yes, this is true.
And they're in that fleeting moment of time, and they still got their good looks, but, like anybody, time marches on, I mean, it's like, well, if you present it, I'm gonna, look at it, I'm a man, what do you expect me to do?
I'm going to appreciate it.
But why should, it's like, but there's going to be this rule over me to, like, possibly punish me because because looking, I'm a man, men are visual.
Did you look, didn't you?
Men like good-looking women.
Yeah.
Okay, get over it, people. Men like good-looking women.
Yeah. Well, and when they dress in such a way to, really emphasize, their better parts or their natural beauty, they're wearing it not because they want to hide it; they want to emphasize it. It doesn't mean they want you groping all, but of course they want. Don't you look nice today? Hey, you look lovely. But at the same time, elucidating such a response could get you into trouble, depending on the specific instance and the the environment. So, but I agree.
And it's certainly not that appreciative look turns into taking someone into a closet or putting them up on a table in the middle of a conference call.
That depends. Did you get the consent form signed? I mean, come on.
Well, I'm actually legally speaking, I'm working with a couple of lawyer buddies of mine, and we're putting together some consent forms. So we just may have to go there, and of course they will be made available on the Hawks of America website. So, just to protect our asses, from all this insanity out there. Anyway, we should probably close this off since you said you could only go for an hour tonight. I think we're
approaching that mark.
We're approaching that mark. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting. The other article that I mentioned on that post, Milo Yiannopoulos, however the hell you say his last name, he declared the culture war. He's an interesting fellow as well. He's going to do some serious things this year as well.
And he's a gay dude. He's the Dangerous Faggot Tour.
Yeah,
the Dangerous Faggot.
Gay. I don't know. I've never seen the video, but yeah, he says he's a faggot, and I suppose he wouldn't mind me saying that since he is one. He's kind of like a Will, sort of a fucker. If you remember Will from way back when.
It does ring. Yeah, that does ring a bell.
Yeah, old Bill. So. Yeah, so he's actually got a really good writer's spirit in him, and he's got some really good things to say, and I think that he's pretty much unassailable, at least by his own sites right now, because he's a gay man, and he's against feminism, and he's a conservative.
Yeah. Well, he's a complete paradox, So
he's like the ultimate faggot. he's like the ultimate paradox of what you expect, because you expect the gay people, whatever, to line up with the feminists. You expect them to be totally liberal, whatever.
Well, I have to say, I know at least one.
He doesn't seem like he's a woman-hating faggot. He doesn't seem like he's, woman-hating at all. It's just that he disagrees with, where feminism has gone in society. He sees it as being like, feminism was true and correct up to a point,
right,
which is pretty much how it should be. Because, equal rights, all that good stuff. If you want to work, whatever. But it's been pushed so far beyond the mark. At this point, with protected classes and, everything that, just says, everything that just says that, whatever they do, they can't get prosecuted for it. Whatever a man does, that's automatically wrong, especially a heterosexual, man, whatever race. So, that's his point. But he's got some really good things to say, and yeah, so his first salvo was just pretty much drawing a line. Yeah, so we're gonna track this. I think it'll be interesting. We're gonna track it, and hack it. Well, track it and crack it. I don't know.
Sweet.
So I think he's like the tech editor for Breitbart right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's a tech editor, which is interesting because I think he came to his prominence during the Gamergate thing.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, which I don't know if you know much about that or not. I don't know a whole lot.
I know a little bit, you know.
Yeah, I know a little bit about that too.
But I do know it became like the focus of a lot of these feminist social justice warriors, kind of like a, you know, crusade. So
yeah, I think that one came out when that one woman named Anita Sarkeesian came out with her. I think she had like a fundraiser program going on where she was going to do research into, you know, the whole thing about how women are objectified in video games.
In video games.
You know how they, always have certain proportions that young men like.
That's horrible.
Big boobs, nice ass, great face, nice hair.
Laura Croft,
it's horrible. Oh my god. Oh my god, it's completely unrealistic. But then again, I don't know any man that, jumps on tiles and gets coins out of the air and, eats mushrooms, becomes big, and jumps on turtles either. So it's completely unrealistic. It's completely unrealistic, Mario. And your brother Luigi too. How dare you treat Princess Peach that way? Or how dare whatever that dragon's name is treat her that way? But so she came up and she was going to do that, and then all of the gamer society came out of the woodwork and completely blasted her, and then she got all the feminists on her side, and it became this big back and forth thing going on. So that's where I think Milo Yiannopoulos comes from, the Gamergate days, but I'm not 100% on that whole thing. But anyway, it's interesting. It's interesting.
Another man to watch here.
We're going to see a lot more happen this year too. We're only in February?
Yeah,
4th?
Second.
Damn, I'm 2 days ahead. I'm 2 days ahead now. I want Friday already. Damn.
Yeah, I wish I was there.
Damn it.
All right.
Okay. So we'll cut this one off. Hey, let me cut this music back in, and then we'll sign off. Oh, that's where that little video came from. That was from the video. That's the flash that I saw. Oh yeah, it was that one. I wish I could play this. I don't know how to play this on our thing yet. But anyway, we'll leave it there.
Are we digging in the dirt, bro?
Yeah.
Feel it in my head, feel it in my toes. I feel it in my sex, that's the place it goes.
All right, Ashton, signing off.
We're out. Target Lock Girls number 2 done.
Until next time.